Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural Front Bar. He just said don't stuff it up, so certainly won't be doing that. Nice cosy setting for tonight's Front Bar. We had to break the smoke off the chimney. It was that cold this morning. Apt we're here at Murphy's, the renamed and rebranded Murphy's, for two reasons. First is 14 beers on tap, officially the 4 greatest words you'll hear this year. And secondly, some of you might think I'm taking the piss, but this is the original site of the administrative and social club of the Geelong Football Club way back in 1860. Geelong played their first official game on the grounds adjoining this building here. And it's quite extraordinary that we're somewhat 100, my maths is absolutely shizen, but we're a long time later and we're back here. The Cats played 45 games here. They won 81, I should say. They won 45 and they drew 18 times, if you can believe that. 18 times. You imagine the talkback callers way back in 1878 after draws 18 times. I think KB was probably one of the originals back there, probably just starting his big career on SEN. Obviously, things have changed. You won't believe it, but in 1878, they forgot to pay the bill, moved to the Corio Oval, and in 1941 are where they play their footy now at Cardinia Park. Before I introduce the panel, the Front Bar format is going to be pretty relaxed, pretty cruisy. We'll have a bit of fun. We'll take the P155, hopefully, out of the boys here, and we'll have a bit of a laugh. We can't take ourselves too seriously. Perhaps some do in the football world, but tonight we're just going to have a bit of fun. My first guest, or our first panel member, a special guest, he's been waiting patiently. He's played 43 games for the Cats, 120 for the Blues, and he just informed me, I think this weekend he's playing his 137th straight AFL game of footy. We also found out, after he kicked his magnificent goal after the siren, that he celebrates hard with milk. Could you big it up, Ali G style, for Zach Tuohy? The man to his left was a former captain and best and fairest of the Geelong Falcons. He was drafted with the 15th pick in the 2006 draft by the Sydney Swans. His footy career, unfortunately, was cut down by injury, but he did a 360-degree turn and returned to the Falcons last year as their coach and broke a 17-year drought when the Falcons hoisted the cup after Brian Myers, now teammate of Zach Tuohy, kicked 7 goals. Could you big it up for Dan O'Keefe? And the man on the end probably doesn't need too many introductions. 219 games for the Cats, 7 for North. He kicked 18 brilliant goals in his career. He's had more clubs since then than a Canadian whiskey addict. He is currently coach of the Geelong Amateur Whammos, Bluey McGrath. Boys, welcome. It's late in the season. We're getting the inaugural show underway. Zach, got to start with you. Mm-hmm. The goal after the siren, it's a bit like your first sexual experience. You just don't get sick of talking about it, do you?
A bit more fun than that one. Yeah, it was a hell of an experience. It's funny, I played 160 odd games. I haven't spent 5 minutes forward in all that time, and 3/4 time I got sent forward for the first time ever and ended up with that shot.
Was that from the outside looking in, was that a move that you looked up in the board at 3/4 time and you were forward, or how does that actually work?
Nah, Matthew Scarlett, he didn't tell me this, but he reckons he's been saying to Scotty for a while that I should go and play forward. So it was news to me when it happened, a little rap on the shoulder at 3/4 time, and told me to go over to Boris Enright's group, his forwards coach, so didn't know what I was doing.
2 things. Did it make news in Ireland?
Yes.
It did?
It did, yeah. Pretty big too.
Actually, make that 3 things. Did Scott Selwood say, if you miss this, our season is cooked?
Yeah, flog. So when I was on the ground standing up, because it was all a bit of a blur afterwards, somebody said to me, it turns out this was Mark Blitzaz, but what he said was, even if you miss this, we're all here for you. So it was a nice message from a teammate. I said afterwards that was Scott Selwood, because I couldn't quite piece it all together. I was talking to Scott and he goes, nah, what I said was, if you miss this, our season's cooked. I thought, well, that's a lovely message, going back for a big shot.
And is it true your parents, perhaps your mum, can't watch footy? So she obviously wouldn't have seen it.
She's horrific, yeah. So even when she's at games, she'll walk around the car park if it gets too tight. So they were watching it at home, and both of them got up and left until my partner called them afterwards. So I missed it.
Unbelievable story. One you'll talk about for the ages, no doubt Cat fans will. It was an unbelievable night for those supporting the Blue and White Hoops. Dan, you're still basking in the glory of last year because your team is going shithouse this year.
It's fair to say, yeah, totally. I'm actually a bit worried about with Zach here with the Guinness in front of him. His hand's getting a bit shaky.
Well, it hasn't moved yet, so it's like an angel pissing on your tongue, they reckon, the Guinness. Well, that's what Zach told me just before. So, Dan, it's obviously your role with the Falcons. I mean, it was obviously great to win the flag, but it's not so much about that. It's about the development of young players to set them up to take the pathway that Zach Tuohy did in terms of making it at senior level. So you, even within a season where you're really struggling, there's obviously some really good stories that will emerge from the Geelong Falcons.
Yeah, and you mentioned Graham Myers before, and he's a perfect example of that. I think his first year coach last year, and to win a flag was absolutely amazing, but then to finish with 4 draftees and a rookie pick, so 5 young men entering the system was wonderful, but we probably thought we'd get a couple more. So I think, in a way, he nearly finished the year last year on a bit of a downer because that's the ultimate goal, is to get players drafted and fulfil their boyhood dreams. And you look at a couple this year, like James Warple, our captain from last year, and Tommy McCartan for Sydney, they're going really well, and that's where, as a coach, you really, that's the exciting part.
Does Mick Turner reckon he could still play for the Cats?
Yeah, and the Falcons and Collingwood and everyone else. But yeah, look, Mick's is unique in his own way, but we all love him for it. So.
And is it true one of your players has their own YouTube channel?
Facebook. Oh no, sorry, you're right. Yeah, Fortnite.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting to?
Correct way to
Get to know your players. Come on.
So we do. We've got a particular young man. There's Fortnite's obviously the digital craze at the moment, and young Tommy's he's got his own unique name on there as well, which I won't share on camera, but he's one of Geelong's and maybe Victoria's best Fortnite players, they reckon.
Okay. You into Fortnite?
No.
You don't just take it 1 week at a time?
I'm afraid if I pick it up, I wouldn't stop.
Bluey, you've gone into a new role this year, coaching the Whammos.
Yes.
How have you found the Whammos? You're third on the ladder, you told me.
Yeah, third in the ladder out of 4, so we're going well. We've made the finals first year, so that goes on the resume. Just interesting to ask Dan about obviously getting players drafted. I'm in a different situation to that. I'm trying to keep my players out of Lammies on Saturday night so they can play Sunday. So there's a different perspective altogether, but having a ball, haven't enjoyed footy this much for a long, long time.
Well, so maybe some of the girls should have been transported back to 1860 because legend has it on the plaque that is in this building somewhere that the team, when this was their facility, they used to go down to the train station, the Geelong team, and meet the opposing team, which came down from Melbourne. They would come back here and get on the piss before the game actually started, which is quite extraordinary. But I've got to ask you this: you're known for a lot of things, but your bedside manner isn't one of them. You're old school, aren't you? You're an old school. How do you go? Has he turned into a big softie since he's been with the Whammos?
No, I don't know whether I've turned into a softie, but I've had to be very careful how I approach things and how I say things. The girls are very good that they literally do as you say it. If you explain something that you want done at training or in a game, they literally do it how you say it. So you've got to be very careful how you do that. But it's still old school. They've copped a few sprays, which, is a good thing. They've responded, which has been the best part of it. Last week, we played Geelong West, and there was a bit of a fracas at 3/4 time. And a few of our taller players, let's say our 2 ruckmen, Posty's one of them, got in through their weight around, which was a great thing. And at 3/4 time, we came in to talk to the team, and for the first 3 minutes, all I heard was just voices everywhere about what just happened. They were a bit excited, weren't sure what was going on, and spoke to them at 3/4 time and said, look, the umpire after 3/4 time is going to look for the player who goes for the ball. If you go for the ball, you'll get rewarded for it. And sure enough, they did as you say, got in after the footy and got the rewards, and we won. So at that stage we were behind, so it was a good thing.
So you've really enjoyed it. Zach, do you do as Blue said? Do you listen to the coach, or you just do your own thing?
Nah, after we've listened to him fairly closely, I've had a few different coaches. And as mental as Scotty looks in the box, he's easily the most measured coach I've had over 8 or 9 years.
How many gifts have you got of Scotty going berserk?
Yeah,
They've got the 4 now.
Emojis now.
Yeah.
No, he's a lunatic in the box, but he's very, very measured.
Very, very measured away from. How many St Paddy's days have you been in here?
No, not many. I haven't had a big St Paddy's Day in a few years.
In March, I suppose it doesn't fall.
Nah, it's
at
not
the right time of
ideal,
year.
but I will next one.
Yeah, you're looking forward to the next one. It's obviously. Can we ask you? You've come 120 games. This is a small setting, so you can let a few secrets out of the bag. You're playing at Carlton.
Yep.
They're not travelling probably as you would like. How does it you end up at Geelong? Does your management contact the Cats? Does the Cats? Well, you happen to be driving home from training and someone rang up and said, how would you like to come down here? How do you choose? Because it came out a long way before, obviously, that you'd left Carlton, that you wanted to come to Geelong. I mean, that sort of secret. Secrets don't last long in footy. How does that all transpire at AFL level?
Well, halfway through my last year at Carlton, it became pretty obvious that things weren't going great, and they were going down the youth path, and I wasn't sure I'd have much more than a year or two left with them if I stayed, so I had to weigh up my options. I'm really good friends with Lockie Henderson, so I started getting in his ear, just seeing how long Boris had left. So
He was all Australian that year.
Yeah, no pressure. But he, so I was kind of had some sort of feelers out, and I didn't approach Geelong. I just had to kind of hold my breath and hope they made the phone call, which they did after Boris pulled the pin.
So you've moved the whole family down. It's been a big move for you. I mean, on the field, we only look at it as supporters only see it as on the field and think you must be loving life because you're winning some games. Has it been a tough transition, or have you enjoyed it?
No, it's been an easy transition. You don't realise, it sounds obvious, we all play because we want to win games, but I loved my time at Carlton, and early in my last year I really wanted to stay, but you leave and you come to a club that's had a lot of success and competes every week and competes into September, and you don't realise what you're missing. So as soon as I got here and as soon as I realised that I was half a chance of having some success, I was pretty happy.
So you'll be happy then Lockie's back. He's had a pretty tough. Lockie Henderson's had a tough year, and he's back playing some senior footy.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a pre-season. He spent all pre-season in the gym and in the heat room. So I think people might have forgotten just how important he is to the group, and he's only played his second game back. But I reckon against the Lions, he was close to back to his best, and it's pretty good timing to get him back in.
You must think I think Geelong fans think, what if had you not kicked that goal? It was who knows what might happen. Proof will be in the pudding down the track. But Geelong's season was absolutely teetering till that point, and even now you still, I think, sit 8th despite the fact that you've won your last 2 games. It's a brutal competition. You can't afford any slip-ups, but that one moment there potentially helped change the season.
Yeah, you could probably identify a handful of those throughout the year, but it is an incredible season, and you can't afford to let really tight games slip, and we have let a few slip this year, but we're really confident. We're really confident this week we'll win, but we're certainly confident we'll make finals. Give
us your perspective on the Geelong City.
It's awesome. I like Melbourne. I love being there, but with a young family, it's just so easy to get around here, and you can't help but feel everyone's on your side here, which isn't the case in Melbourne.
No doubt. Dan, you've had 5 drafted last year. Matthew Ling went first round, who's had some injury problems, went to Sydney Swans. James Warple, who has been huge the last couple of weeks for the Hawks. Josh Yasker went, I think, to the Gold Coast. Tommy McCartan's playing senior footy for the Sydney Swans, and Graham Mize, you mentioned him, has gone to the Cats. You've got another kid this year who... There's always 3 or 4 kids that are hyped to the nth degree, and Geelong Falcons have got one in the name of Sam Walsh. Tell us a little bit about Sam, about his footy, and how you as coach manage the expectations of a kid who is going to have plenty on him because, barring divine intervention, he's going to go probably top 5, potentially top 3 in the draft.
It's a good question. I think as a coach too, when you get particular characters and footballers like Sam Walsh, they're destined for glory just because of who they are. And as a football coach over the last couple of years with Sam, I think you can only do so much, but the term manage expectations is a big thing, and that's part of it. Part of his development this year is just making sure that we do that, and he's more than capable of doing it himself, I'm sure, but we just got to make sure we're a support there for him. He's had like 5 different coaches this year. He's played in about 5 different teams, whether it be school, national, for Vic Country. He's played for Australia, he's captained Australia, he's actually captained every side he's been in this year as well. He's actually won basically every medal he could possibly win as a junior, which has never been done before. So we're pretty lucky to have someone like Sammy involved at the Falcons over the last couple of years. And as a coach, you do feel a bit special being part of his journey through footy.
Given all those, obviously got real leadership qualities, but does he manage himself, or do you have to help manage around him?
He's got support framework. Yeah, he's got a great family that are very loving and caring for him. They've got 3 boys, and they're all really close. From a coaching group, and he's got great peers at the Falcons as well. But he's also got a player manager, and he's got Mick and Dean at the Falcons down there as well. So he's a leader at school. He's got school connections that I'm sure support him through study and football too. So he's not short of support, that's for sure.
And he's obviously, the other obvious is that his football talent is enormous. What I know everyone gets likened to Dustin Martin, or no one ever gets, Joel Selwyn, no one ever gets likened to Tom Gillies or someone who's, came to know. They're always getting likened to an absolute star, just to add another layer of pressure. But what sort of player is he?
He's consistent in every area of footy. He's probably, the one knock on him is probably not super fast, but he makes that up for that in his ability to get out of traffic and whatnot. So it's a bit similar to a Pendlebury with the amount of time that he's got and the way he uses the football, and he wins it on the inside, he wins it on the outside. He's got the all-round game.
The other one you've got, which is a really interesting one for A, Geelong supporters, B, the Geelong Footy Club, and also the kid himself, but Oscar Brownless. The name obviously comes with a huge amount of pressure. Now, maybe I'm talking out of school, but a recruiter said to me a couple of weeks ago that he is a very late draft pick or a rookie at best in terms of the talent that he's shown. Now, he may, who knows, there's plenty of rookies who've gone on and had some wonderful careers, but there's obviously a huge pressure on probably the Cats as well, given the surname.
Yeah, I think so. It's probably hard for me to determine where he will go in the draft or the rookie draft, just because I think father sons, and there's a lot of them in this year's draft as well, not just with Geelong, but it takes 2 to tango. So do clubs think that that Geelong are just going to take Oscar, so they just leave him, or do Geelong just take him straight away? Who knows? So it's really hard to get a gauge on where they'll go in the draft or if they go in the draft. But to speak on behalf of Oscar, he's a wonderful character. Both Sam and Oscar are both captains at the Geelong Falcons and do that quite well. And he's a bit similar. He's an all-round player, and he's got some really good size. He runs really well, which I'm assuming he doesn't get that from Billy.
Thrown to the damn side for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So he's got some proven strengths that are better than most in the country, which is great.
Bluey, is Paddy or Marty better?
Oh. Who's in here this?
Well, I don't know. He's beaming around the world, I think.
No, they're both very good, obviously. No, Marty's been terrific. Early in the year, had a lot of phone calls to find out whether she's actually playing or not, and we were very respectful of her privacy, obviously, because a lot happens with Paddy and that. But yeah, she's been terrific. All the girls have, but natural player. They're pretty hard at it, which is a good thing, and they get a lot of support from her family. They're always there.
You've obviously taken some time away from K-Rock this year, the second half of the year. Is coaching the girls help sort of reignite your passion for the game and why you loved the game when you were a kid stealing cars there in Dandenong?
Yeah, that was year 9 we learnt that at school, old Dandy Tech. We were good at footy and we could steal your car as well. So, yeah, look, it has. As I said before, I haven't enjoyed footy this much since probably 2002 when we played in the VFL flag. Just went back to grassroots, and to be able to coach a team from scratch and build that team has been challenging, but it's also been rewarding, and the fact that they've kept turning up every week is always a good thing.
Do you in terms of the, have you seen improvement? Obviously, it's when you're coaching guys who are sort of established players, it's difficult to see improvement. But I imagine some of the girls have improved out of sight from when you first saw them to this point now. Yeah,
they have, and all at different rates. Early in the year, say like in pre-season, lane kicking, just normal lane kicking from one end to the other was a real challenge. You found that you were fetching balls out of the gutter more than they were hitting targets, and you think, geez, where's this going to go? But as it's gone on and we got closer to playing, the more information they asked for, and you couldn't overload them early because they had no idea what you were talking about. So that was difficult, but as they've gone on, they've all improved immensely.
And you mentioned those different rates, so you're coaching girls at different levels and different talent levels, but Dan, you're probably the same in that you mentioned, we talked about Sam Walsh there and Oscar Brownless who have the talent to potentially go on to the next level, but there's a lot of kids that you coach, and my nephew's one of them, who is very unlikely to ever go to the next level. Is it easy to keep those kids motivated? How do you sort of go about coaching the kid who is in it because he loves the Falcons and the kid who's in it because he loves the Falcons but he also knows that it's a pathway to get somewhere else?
Yeah, interesting balance. And I guess you come across easy situations, but you also come across hard situations depending on, I guess, the type of person. For someone like Sam that knows he's going to get drafted, it's a tough balance. Of course the kid's thinking about playing for Carlton next year or Gold Coast or Brisbane or whoever it might be, but you just got to keep them balanced and focused on the task at hand and week by week. It's really cliche, but for someone like that, you have to. I think the other players that are there to play tack up footy for the Falcons, they all love it so much because it is, I guess, the Geelong Falcons, and it's a bit iconic that way. We're a community club that do represent all the 40 to 50 teams in the region, and I think that's everyone's goal as a 16, 17-year-old growing up. It was my goal when I was 16, when I was in Warrnambool. We were aligned from Warrnambool back then to play at the Falcons, and which has changed now, but it was everyone's dream back then to be able to do that. So I think the fact that might be their AFL, playing tack cup footy. It might be the highest they get to, but at the end of the day, we try to make sure that we allow the players to play or make their best potential, whether it be tack cup and they go play, become great GFL footballers or VFL or AFL, whatever it might be. As long as they leave the program like that, and we've done our job.
Zach, and you obviously a very, very different pathway to the boys that Dan's talking about. Can you remember the first time you heard of Australian rules footy or saw Australian rules footy? Or
Yeah, well, Ty Kennelly was quite big when I was growing up, so he was the one I'd heard of. But there was a guy, Colin Begley, so he played for Brisbane for, 3 or 4 years, and then went to St Kilda the year they went 19 in zip, I think, to start the year, and lost the granny. So that was a tough side to break into. But anyway, so he's from the same tiny area of Ireland that I'm from. So I was aware of the game. Never assumed I would have a chance. It's funny, we lost in the underage competition in Ireland to a team from Northern Ireland. So if you think I'm hard to understand, if you ever go to Ireland, go to Northern Ireland and best of luck to you. But I got a phone call afterwards from the Australian scout, and obviously I wasn't expecting an Aussie to call me, so I couldn't pick the accent, and I assumed it was someone from Northern Ireland, or one of these plebs now that I have to speak to. But he invited me to a tryout, and the rest is history. It was 10 years ago.
Do you have mates? Have you kept retained mates who come out and watch, or have you
Dropped them all.
Oh, the whole lot.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I talk to him pretty much, maybe not quite every day, but most days.
Will you stay in Australia?
Probably at this stage, yeah. My whole career I've said I'd go back, but I think there's probably too many opportunities here.
Would you like to go back and have a season of Gaelic footy when your career ends?
So I never played senior. So I left the year I kind of broke into the senior side. So I would like to put a year aside. I'm not sure my body will be up to it in 4 or 5 years, but yeah, I would.
I've always wanted to ask this question. We like the Irish jokes. We love the Irish jokes. Do you have the equivalent? Do you say things like,
About you guys?
Yeah, did you hear about the Aussie newlyweds who stayed up all night waiting for their sexual relations?
I haven't given you that much thought, to be honest. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we didn't even know he existed. So there's no Irish equivalent of the Irish joke?
We tend to target the English much more than you guys.
Okay, which is
Those guys.
fair
In
enough.
more ways than one.
You're also,
Hey. Too soon. Too soon.
Oops. Was that for show too?
Episode 2, Blue. You're also the first bloke, I think, the Cats in my my memory of Geelong, which is only 30 odd years of well, longer than that, but since I've been able to sort of recall the
Geez,
Cats.
we're on the clock, man.
The first person to have leg tattoos at the Cats.
That can't be right. Am I?
Oh, I can't. Well, Mitch Clark, but
So there's one.
yeah,
Okay.
no, but he was only there 2 minutes before you. I can't think of anyone else. Do they have any meaning, or did you just the whole tattoo setup, or did you
Nah,
just
they all do.
get gas to the eyeballs?
No, they've all got meaning.
Okay.
Do you want to?
No, not all of them, but just give us
Well,
one.
the leg ones are. They all sound cheesy when you explain them, but so my shin is my dog that I had to get put down a year or two ago. I bought him when I come out, so I had to get him put down last year, so that was tough. Any gags for that one, Bluey?
Keep going, I'll find something.
And then the lion on my quad is just a parental metaphor. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. So I was actually googling really protective dads in the animal kingdom. I was like, what can I get that kind of has that meaning, but it's not obvious? Praying mantis and all these fish were coming up, and I was like, Jesus, I can't do that. And wolf was the other one, but my husky looks like a wolf, so this is
So you've
the
gone
best
the
I
line.
could do. Yeah.
The protective dad's a shotgun. That's what that is.
Dan, you're coaching. Is there aspirations? I mean, I think you took over. You're 28, so but my maths is not that good. But you're 29. Is that how do you? Is that a goal? How do you get to the next level? And how do you sort of fashion that? You obviously got to do your time, and the Falcons' opportunity must have been a great one. Although you were there in some sort of development role prior, so you had knowledge of the club. But is that your aspiration to continue on and find the next level of coaching?
Yeah, I think so. I think eventually it's whenever that time comes, if it comes, it'd be wonderful to be able to do that in a full-time capacity. I think I've probably got an underlying ambition or goal that drives me where I wasn't able to fulfil my dreams as a player in the system. So if I was able to be able to do that for other young men, which I'm able to semi-do that now in my role at the Falcons, then that's what drives me more than anything. So
tell us about you touch there on your career. First round draft pick for the Sydney Swans. You're a Warrnambool kid, played at the Falcons, suddenly you're in Sydney. Just the 3 years you were there, what problems did you have? B, how did you, obviously the experience from a footy sense was a shocker, but how did you find the experience of doing that?
Yeah, it's changed so much I mean, I sound like an old codger, but I'm not, I'm young, but when I was drafted, back in my day, when I was drafted, it was just so different. Like, I remember driving around the roundabout at the front of our house in the back of the car when it was raining on draft day, listening to the radio. We're trying to find the best reception to actually listen to the national draft, and because our ADL or ACL internet wasn't strong enough to mount a video on the internet, we were driving around looking for the best reception, and that's how you found your name get called out and your life changes, and 3 days later you're living in Sydney. So even something like that is changed completely. It was probably just more injury riddled than anything.
What were the problems you had?
I had a lot of groin issues. In the first 2 years was mainly groins. I had a full groin reconstruction, which asked for a bit of an adjustment, but didn't quite work out. And I mean, I was just a different player after that. Do you reckon that was a joke?
No, I was just... Benny had a groin reconstruction.
It wasn't
for different reasons.
It was to make me better in the groin area, not necessarily lengthwise.
You already had the
Benny
line.
Would have been nice. That and knees and back still troubles me now. I had an operation a couple of years ago on that too.
Did you get you're obviously that pick 15, so Sydney, you left there. Was there a nibble from anyone else, given you're obviously a highly talented kid? Did you get a chance or an opportunity that perhaps to go to another club after the Sydney experience?
Yeah, my claim to fame, I'm the only first rounder in 2006 never to play a game of footy, so I'm pretty proud of that. But after 3 years, there was a couple of trades floated around, but I hadn't played a game, so I probably didn't have the experience to be worth currency at that level back then. So I did come down to Geelong and played VFL here for half a season until another injury occurred, and I actually gave that up and played golf for a couple of years.
That was
to be
it.
honest. Yeah,
went down the coaching path.
Yeah.
That's when you realised that it was if your involvement was footy, it was going to be from a coaching.
Yeah, I knew I couldn't play anymore after that. So at that level.
Bluey, you I know you obviously love your footy, but I believe you're a part owner of an unbelievable equine colossus called London Fog, who is about to take the horse racing world by storm. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. He's been fantastic, the Fog.
Tell us about the Fog. He won at Moonee Valley and you nearly got nude.
Yeah, we did have a fair afternoon. We went there not expecting a hell of a lot, and the great beast saluted, so it's just great to be a part of it. It all happened at my 40th. Rather late, mind you, and a few refreshments under the belt. We decided that we'd all put in $100 each for the service fee, and the mare was in file, and he was it. I actually was lucky enough to be the one who named him. So he had a lot of trouble as a foal, and every time we got an email about it or a phone call, I said, this thing will be no good. It'd be like a London Fog and won't lift. And he kept coming good, and finally we had to name him, and so we put that in, we got it.
And now he's playing at the Cats, L Fog.
L Fog, yeah. No, he goes okay.
He does. He's been lifting
good
lately.
Yeah.
How do you find relating to the, what do you use, Zach, 28?
Mm-hmm.
How do you find relating to the 18-year-olds? Because I don't know about your musical taste, but the musical taste of the youngsters these days is diabolical.
Yeah, they're not that far behind me.
10 years?
Yeah, they are different.
That's a
different
lot.
breed. Brian's an interesting cat, but the club are happy with free spirits. Let them be who they want to be.
Have you run your hand through his yogi beard?
Nah, but it's not going to last Mad Monday. That performance. It's coming off. Whether he likes it or not, it's coming off.
Is it gone? You're a pretty gregarious sort of bloke who plays it hard on the field, but has a lighter side and can take doesn't take yourself super seriously. What are your thoughts about the media and the footy and the thirst for a story in footy? It's seemingly at any cost. Yeah,
it is. Well, bad news sells better, so everybody knows that. But I just think basically if you, like the media, I just don't think they're out to get you. I don't think there's any use in pretending the media's out to get you and trying to dodge them. And Paddy does it really well. Like he engages with them more than any big name player I can ever remember. So if you just embrace it for what it is, like they pay our wage.
Does he think opened the eyes of some at Geelong as to how you can have a relationship with the media that can be a positive one?
Well, the problem is if you start, like if you goof around a little bit and try and show some personality, all it takes is one bad performance before people start pointing at you and saying you're not taking it serious. So it's a fine balance, but you just have to accept it. That's the industry we're in.
And you've always had that, obviously, that outlook on life. It's helped you through, obviously. Yeah,
well, I've seen some not great times at Carlton when everybody's turning up to the club when they don't really want to be there and the media's waiting outside. So now that things aren't going too bad, I'm just going to enjoy it.
Tell us about Mick Malthouse. He was...
Milkshakes.
Yeah.
He was great for me. He was fantastic for me, and we had a really good relationship, but obviously it didn't work out, and again, that just sometimes happens. But for me as a player, I feel like I probably progressed more under him than I have any other coach. So I've nothing but admiration for Mick.
Oh, I think you said that he played your first of the streak.
Yeah. So the last game I missed was Brett Ratton's last game as coach.
Which is 2012.
12, I think, yeah.
It's pretty amazing given...
Jeez, that's a good
we were talking before about some players, Dan Benz and Link McCarthy, who obviously missed so much football, and you've played the equivalent of, close to seven seasons without missing a game in terms of 136 games.
Yeah, and that's half of footy. Like, injuries cut down a lot of would-be stars, there's no doubt about that. So if you can keep fit, that's half the battle.
Your beer hasn't moved.
I know.
Which is fair enough, Monday night. But do you strike me as a bloke who's going to have a couple every now and then and let your hair down and let the beard grow. And so how do you've obviously, it must be a huge element of luck in terms of those injuries.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, huge. I mean, you can put a good medical staff around anybody. If somebody lands awkwardly, there's no amount of training or prep or weights is going to stop you, twisting your ankle. So there's a huge amount of luck involved, but it's also a refusal to go in and get a hard ball. So I just slot around the outside and get them off Paddy and Joel and all those guys.
Why not? You see clubs from the outside. You spent a number of years on the outside of the Cats. Who's a player that has surprised you for whatever reason, whether it's on the field or off the field, somebody who perhaps a different personality than you thought they'd be? Or
Well, it sounds weird to say because he won a BNF, but Mark Blitzabs is considerably better than I ever gave him credit for. He's an incredible player, and he just signed a long deal, and it's not at all surprising. It might be from the outside, but I definitely never gave him credit for being as good as he is.
What about his hair? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Nah, shit ass. It's terrible, isn't it?
It's horrendous for a defender. It's supposed to be a down.
The thing is, he did it for Mad Monday, and he said it was part of his outfit. And when we played JLT, that was obviously a long time after Mad Monday, and his excuse was, "Oh, I've just never cut it out." He goes in every 2 or 3 weeks to get it topped up.
Of course he does. You can't keep it like that without having plenty of stuff done on it. Boys, what are your thoughts on the Cats this year? Bluey, you've obviously now watching from afar to a degree.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what Geelong can do?
Oh, they can go. They're just going to win. And they've been inconsistent. I mean, you look at some of the games, you just think, geez, they should win this in a canter and get knocked over. The back six has been really good. It's been unbelievable, really, considering some of those games are so early in the year, especially the West Coast game, when you keep getting the ball inside 50, 25. I think it was 25 in the first quarter. Yeah. No wonder at quarter time the back six were on their knees, but yet they regrouped and they've formed a great bond. They've held the side together pretty much as the season's gone on. But the former Hawkins, been outstanding. Reece Stanley's really surprised me in the last 4 weeks. I'll be the first one. I was his biggest knocker of all time, but have to put my hand up and say he's actually going okay. For a bloke of his size, he's now competing like a bloke of that size should. So there's no reason why they can't go a fair way. I don't think, as I sit here now, they're good enough to win it, but they can go a fair way.
Yeah, they're certainly trending in the right direction. Dan, do you get access to the Cats in terms of the facilities, or the kids get a chance to go down there and do some stuff with some of these guys at any point during the year, or how does that relationship work?
Yeah, we actually just came from there tonight, so about 6 or 7 times a year on a Monday night we get full access to the rehab and the review facilities, and we go through that as a whole group, which is a great buzz for the kids. But I love watching AFL footy from a player point of view, less about the teams, and love watching players. Like you mentioned Hawk, I love watching Hawk at the moment. I reckon he cops a fair flack that's probably unfair, whether it be from media or whatever it might be, but I love that he's killing them at the moment. A Jack Henry, who was, when I was coaching at my first year at the Falcons, he was there and part of that dynamic, and it's great to see him playing back and forward and doing so well, and it's, that's it. He's just signed a new contract as well with Sparkle Narkle and Big Sav, and that trio, they're there for a bit longer now, and I reckon they're starting to build something pretty special there.
Sparkle, Narkle, and Big Sav, they got some pretty...
It's the hair.
Pretty way out nicknames. Well, you haven't got one, have you? Have you got one? They call you Reg. Reg. Reg.
We were in Queenstown, and I made the mistake of complaining that I've never had a nickname. And Sam Doherty, because it was the old crew, Hendo was there as well, but he just started screaming Reginald, because apparently I look like some Reg character from Harry Potter. I don't know which one it is.
No,
I just shaved my beard and I had the red moustache, and apparently I look like him. And no one ever called me it, except Hendo. And then when I got traded here, Lockie started texting all the coaches and players saying, everyone calls him Reg. So then it just stuck as soon as
Who's got the best, what's the best nickname you've seen in footy?
Oh, God, there's not many great ones.
There's some rippers. Joel Corey, I know you didn't play with him. No, I know. He had Smithy, because he didn't have a surname.
I don't mind. No, I can't think of any.
But nothing.
Well, they're all basic ones, all Simmels and...
Big Sav, is it what you yell out on the lead, Big Sav?
No, just Sav, I would have thought, yeah.
I think you should go with the Big Sav, just add a bit of spice to it. We've got some questions from the audience, for anyone here. We've also got Murphy's rooftop meet and greet with Gary Ablett and Patrick Dangerfield, two of the bigger teammates that Zach Tuohy plays with. It's Thursday, the 16th of August, 6:30 till 10, $80 a ticket. So Kingy from K-Rock, I think, is going to be emceeing that one. An hour interview and an hour meet and greet. So get along to meet Gary Ablett and Paddy Dangerfield. Both the boys, was lucky enough to do something with them at the start of the season, and they're both really engaging sort of characters. And obviously Paddy is, and Gary, I think, is is really surprises people with how relaxed he is, and he's got a real sense of humour, Gary Ablett, as Zach probably could attest. But you don't often see it. He's so driven by footy and focused by footy, but he's quite a funny little bastard, isn't he?
He's an interesting fella. In a good way.
You don't sound so sure.
No, he is. He's a couple of lockers up from me. He's for somebody who's done everything he's done in the game, he's incredibly well-grounded and down to earth. So that'd be good.
Fantastic. So have we got any questions before we finish up? Does anybody like to ask Zach, Dan or Bluey any question at all? Don't hold back, because now is your time.
Be very careful.
We've got anything from anybody over here? Oh, hang on. We'll start over here and then we'll get to you.
Have a sip of that Guinness and let me know how it goes.
He's dying a bit here on me, but
Ease tongue.
Bluey, coaching the girls, would you say they listen more and follow orders more than what the boys do?
Yes, without a doubt. It's different at an elite level, but at local footy, young lads who are sort of 18 to 25, you know when you're talking to them, in the back of their mind they're going, I've heard this before.
Exactly.
You just know they're doing it, and I probably did it too.
How do you overcome it?
How do you overcome that? Because the girls, this is all new to them. I think I only had 3 on our list that had played previous, and not many games at all. So because it's new, and they're so engaged to want to be better and learn the fundamentals of the game, it's actually quite easy. You've got to be careful actually how you explain what you want, because they'll literally do what you say.
What I found with the boys, and I coached Julie Fowler, I'm lower coaching, on my second club this year, and the favourite saying is, I know that. But what they really mean is, I know of it, but I don't know it. That's exactly what you're saying. They just don't listen. They won't do anything about it.
Yeah, it is good. It is refreshing that to coach a group that are so engaged and want to be better all the time. And as I said before, it was hard to not throw a lot of information at them early, because they just didn't understand. But as you go along, we have our games videoed every week. We found a sponsor for that for the club, so they watch the footage and they come back with stuff that we've spoken about, and they say, well, yeah, we actually understand that now. Most people, when they can see it, they understand it. So to actually explain to someone who hasn't got a great feel of footy, they probably don't get it. But when you can actually see that in a game, it makes sense. So it's been a real good tool for us.
that's me.
Yeah.
Dan, your favourite expression is D1 pressure, I believe. Is that what you're always banging on about? Is that your
Yes.
favourite? Can you explain what D1 pressure is?
Yeah, I can. So D1 pressure, we always talk about. From a defensive point of view, you're the first one to put pressure on the player with the ball, basically.
Is that what the big boys call it, Zach?
Nah,
Do you call it frontal pressure? What do you call it? Barometric pressure?
Nah, we haven't got we're not quite that.
You're not
a name for it.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to be
Just
in the
expected.
Falcons.
Yeah, just expected.
You wouldn't know what was going on down there. So we got any other questions from anybody before we wind up this first episode of Front Bar?
Where comes in for Stuart?
Don't know yet, but it's not as bad as it could have been, the Stewart injury. So there's a little bit of carry on there for Tom, but don't know yet. Well, Jack might come back down back.
Yeah.
And Harry's gone okay. I think Harry's pretty close to playing, but I don't know. Don't know.
Just wanted to ask you, Zach, fans see your players out and toys are usually out of the cot, but do players see it very differently in terms of the team that runs out is the team that can win? Or do fans get too caught up in who's in and out of the team?
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, our back line, that Bluey touched on, that was pretty makeshift for most of this year. If you showed any supporter, or maybe even some players, that this was going to be the back line for the bulk of the year, you'd be forgiven for thinking we'd be conceding a lot more than we are.
Yeah.
So people just need to understand that, yeah, we want our best team playing, but the guys coming in are no jokes. They can play.
You got an Irishman, Tradesman.
Yeah, we had a Gaelic footballer, a South Barland tradie, a steeplechaser, a high jumper, a long jumper, and a North Melbourne full forward. That was our backline at one stage. So we have lost a few of them.
And I think it's still top 3 or top 4 in points conceded.
Yeah, we were number 1 for a bit. We couldn't have fallen too far, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's been a real positive. Change is not always a bad thing, and there's been change in the Cats' backline, and it's been the strength of their side. So have we got another question before we wrap it up?
Sure, there's a question from Bluey's team.
Yeah, someone from the team has to have one about
the
bringing
girls
in
have been
D1
giggling
pressure.
all night.
Ask Zach a question.
Geez, normally they don't shut up. Now they're like bloody Marcel.
So absolute donuts from the Whamos here tonight. Well, we might wrap it up. A big thank you to our special guest, Zach Tuohy. And Dan O'Keefe and Bluey McGrath. Next week, we'll be back with Dan Menzel as our special guest. He doesn't know it yet, but he will be joining us on the panel. Zach is going to tell him tomorrow when he gets to training. So until then, stay tuned and go the Cats.